So, how are you keeping, Lucy? What's that? Yeah. I'm good. I'm just listening to the thing. Yes. I was wondering, would you come with me for a second? Okay, I'll pause the. Punishment. So, I've just got this camera here, and what you do is, you just need to do everything I tell you to. Okay. Okay. Well, let's get started. First of all, just remove your 10 years later. Here we are. Damn it. I just dropped my case. There's no need. You're not going anywhere at the moment, so you may as well sit down. What? Who are you? Who are you? What's going on? Oh, just a little bit of a chat I wanted to have. Just concerning some of the stuff I was looking at. Look, I've told you before now. You might think that was my fault, but that wasn't my fault. That was all your fault. It was Gary's fault anyway. No, not about that. Not about the work thing. I mean, you're probably guilty of that too, but I have no evidence on that, so I wouldn't know. But the point I'd like to make about you is that, remember 10 years ago? Remember the little thing you made there? Remember that time? What are you talking about? Well, can you remember the time when there was you had a nice little class where you used to do things like teach kids things and all these sort of things. And then remember that time when you said, well, what about all those kids who their parents are the parents can't pick them up or bring them to school, so you'll take care of them. And do you remember that time when you used to allow those kids to watch some educational stuff, learn about things? Yeah. And you also remember that time when you used to record them in very creepy fucking ways? Do you remember that? Well, guess what, mate? I'll give you a piece of advice. When you upload something that's repulsive and also criminal, well, basically the thing you don't do is when you're recording someone, specifically a child, and you make it, the child is, and you're taking advantage of them in a sexual way. Well, can I put it this way? Maybe don't leave it so that all it takes is a little bit of, searching, and your IP address is suddenly open there for anyone to see. And all it takes is a little bit of hacking, and then we see, yes, it is you. Do you know that? Here's the thing. If you've ever done that before, and of course you have, I just say this. Why? What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. What are you saying? Well, I'm saying you recorded a child when they were, naked and, you were taking advantage of them. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying, mate. Okay? That's what I'm saying. And now, you might not realise this, but some people wouldn't view that as especially a nice thing to do. In fact, some people would say it's a disgusting thing to do. And, some people would say you should be punished for that. But I'm not guilty of that. You are, though. Yeah. You are. When you have a computer, I'll give you a small piece of advice. The possession of that kind of information is illegal in itself, but the recording of it is quite legal as well. So what? It leads to my Peters with this. Someone could have used my computer. Really? Could they? Could they? Well, I'll tell you a little something. That child's life is destroyed now. You've wrecked it. They're psychologically traumatized. And, well, you really have wrecked it. And what is your reward? Well, your reward is punishment. Well, that's how it works. You go into crime. Well, once at this level, you bless yourself. What did you expect, okay? If you were ever caught. You know? I'm not guilty. I'm not. I don't know what you're talking about. But what kind of flimsy evidence is that? Yeah, it doesn't really have to be. It doesn't really have to be flimsy evidence. It could be flimsy evidence, but we have proof, and we've decided that's what's going to happen. So, you know. So, what are you going to do? Charge me? I'm going to go to prison, am I? I'm going to get my lawyers, and I'm going to have myself taken out of there. And I'm going to have you fired. Prison. No, not prison. Now, you see, for your crime of recording a child and forcing them into that scenario, psychologically traumatizing them, when you know that's obviously a risk. Well, there's a little bit more. My friend, he's gonna describe something to you. So, have you ever had a bath? Yeah. Well, baths are incredibly interesting, because people always were like, oh, it's a waste of water. But then they were like, well, technically, if your shower is inefficient, it's actually not a waste of water, because the shower is a constant stream of water which goes instantly down the drain, unlike a bath where, as long as you don't keep refilling it, then you can, you reuse that water. Of course, technically, if you just use an efficient shower, then yeah, and if you showered for less amount of time, that would make more sense. Showering is one of those things where it's a thing. But anyway, that's getting off the topic. The point is, the baths do an interesting thing. What they do is they submerge you in water, and then, well, turns out that some people like to put their head beneath the water. It just helps to clean the hair a little bit more thoroughly, and all that sort of stuff, although it is good, of course, to get the clean water, completely clean water, just to clean the hair, But anyway, the point is that what we have over there in your bath is a nice bath that's filled with something that's not water. Now, you might have noticed this if ever you've ever had batteries in for too long. That they sometimes explode and the battery acid comes out, and you kind of need to make sure that you don't ingest that or put it in your eyes or something, because it's very dangerous. Well, what do you think happens when you fill an entire bath full of battery acid? What do you think happens then? And what do you think happens when you get a mom who has recorded children in that way, when they were naked and performing tasks, and you put his head underneath the water, and his mouth is open, and you fill his entire orifices with battery acid all down the gullet. And obviously, if he isn't able to open up, you give it a little nick, scrape open his throat, and then just dunk him back down into the bath full of battery acid. Well, now, I'm not really sure, but how would I put this? I would say it probably isn't too good for him. It probably isn't too good for him at all. In fact, I would say it would probably kill him. But because it's battery acid, it's an acid, so it's probably going to hurt him a little bit as well. Now, you see, generally, these kind of scientific experiments I wouldn't perform, and nobody should perform, because they're horrible, to perform on a human. Absolutely horrible. But sometimes, the Romans had an interesting strategy, which was, basically, they would do horrible things, absolutely atrocious things. The myths, they would take the myth, and they'd do things like force a robber to breed with a boar or something like that. They'd reenact the myths, but with real humans. But they realised some myths don't really work. Like they need two consenting, also, what I mean is the animal needs to actually want that, and the animal also needs to, not gore the person to death. But one time, we got these robbers. Well, at one time they actually did this a fair bit. And they got all these robbers, and they made them breed with these animals. But these animals were obviously very powerful. So what do you think happened there? They were torn apart by those animals. Now, obviously, I don't think robbing is not that bad in that sense. I mean, I wouldn't do that to a robber now. But what about someone of your caliber? Basically, a pimp times like about 1 million. Yeah, they, people like you, no. Let's experiment away. What you doing? Well, I just explained it to you. That's what I'm fucking doing, you idiot. Yeah, sorry about that. That's just the gag I need to put on your throat, just to make sure you don't try anything. Anyway. Just need to open your mouth there. Okay, well now. Let's wait a while, eh? Anyway. Where do we go for our next job? Oh! Well, I'll simply say this. No, I know. Just let the battery acid sink into your veins. Anyway, yeah, well, at least we're not going with those boys, because America is a fair bit away from here. Anyway. Back to the fun, eh? Yeah. Battery acid has a very interesting effect on the human body. Anyway. Those who create pornography with children destroy lives. And must be punished.